This episode of the Local Hustlers podcast is brought to you by Audible. If you're listening to this podcast right now, then I'm going to assume that you would also enjoy listening to audiobooks. Whether you're interested in business, history, comedy, science fiction, or romance, Audible has thousands of titles for you to choose from. We want you to try out Audible for free, so if you head to our link, you'll get a 30-day free trial and a free book. So go to audibletrial.com/localhustlerspodcast to redeem your trial today. Again, that's audible, AUDIBLE, trial.com/localhustlerspodcast.
You're listening to the Local Hustlers Podcast, your go-to source for connecting with small businesses and entrepreneurs in the East Valley. Get ready to be inspired by local entrepreneurs as they share their stories, mindset, best tips, and advice. And now, your co-hosts, Dallin and Eric Huso.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Local Hustlers Podcast. This week, we're super excited to be here with Miranda Reyes with Miranda Madison Events. How's it going?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're good.
Glad to have you here.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on today.
For sure. Excited for the episode. Before we dive into things, why don't you take a couple of minutes and give us a little background on your life?
Sure. So, actually, born and raised here in Mesa, Arizona was where I was born. So I feel like there's not many of us nowadays. You know, they're normally from, say, Wisconsin or New York or Cali or anything like that.
Right.
So, born and raised here, played golf my whole entire life. Ended up going off to school in Cedar City, Utah at Southern Utah University. So that was super fun. Got a golf scholarship up there.
Nice.
I don't think many people know that part of my life. You know, they just know me as like event planner and
event planning and golf don't really go together.
Yeah. So, you know, when I was at the university, I literally have been playing golf since I was 5 years old. That's all I've ever known. I was getting to the end of my golfing career and I was like, well, what do I do now? Like, I don't know, you know, all I've ever known was golf. We always just went to the course after school and played our whole lives. And so I actually took an event planning course at the university and we were running, you know, galas and concerts and, you know, dinners and all the different things like that. And I realized like, wow, I really like doing this. So from then I was actually on the road at a golf tournament. I think we're in California or something. And then I started the business. So I was in the hotel room, you know, started all my social media accounts, messaged all my friends, got the business started on the road still in college, came back to Phoenix, started it all up. And really, you know, I'm kind of just where I am here today, you know, so that's kind of backstory. And really anyone that knows my life now just knows me as, like I said, planner, and I love the business. I love all the connections that are within this industry and, you know, connecting with other fellow entrepreneurs and business owners. I think really the realm of where we all are in this moment is really fun and just encouraging. And we're all in this together type of thing, you know,
for sure.
And we're not struggling and, you know, and if we are, like, it's okay. Like, I'm here for you. Like, I get it, you know, like take a week, take a month, take as much time as you need. But yeah, that's quick, intro to me and the business and all that, how it started.
Nice. Let's talk a bit about golf for a second. So you started at a pretty young age. Do you come from a golf family, or is that something your parents push you to do, or what? So
yeah, my dad ended up watching Tiger Woods when he was on the rise. You know, this was back when I was born, so 1996. That's kind of when Tiger Woods was getting his old start. Yeah. And so my dad made a decision when we were born, basically, like my daughter, because I have a sister too, she also played at NAU. She played golf at NAU. So my dad made the decision, like, oh, well, my daughters are going to go play golf, you know, and that's that. And so, yeah, we started basically when we were 5. I was 5, my sister was like 4 or something, and we would just like start chipping and putting and kind of hanging out, go to the golf driving range all the time. And yeah, that's really all I ever knew. And it's funny because you know, growing up, no one really thought golf was cool. They were all like, oh, well, that's weird, like you should be dancing, you know. All our other friends were dancing and doing all that, right? And so it's funny that now, you know, it's so popular with like Topgolf, and everyone like loves the Phoenix Open and all the different things like that. So, yeah, you know, and my dad, like I said, just had this vision for us. And there were so many moments where we just wanted to quit or we didn't want to play it anymore.
Yeah.
I want to say probably about like 12 or so was when I really gained my own interest and passion behind it. And I was like, oh, well, I'm actually kind of good. Like, I can do something with this, you know. So then we played the whole junior golf circuit. I mean, I got sent over to New York and Florida and Georgia and Virginia and Seattle. And we played all over, California, Texas, all those. And my parents obviously paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into it. And so with all that money, and they're like, well, at this point, you have to get a scholarship, you know,
Right.
like you're not
you gotta
backing
get a
out.
return, yeah.
Right? Yeah, you're not backing out now, and so, you know, then obviously went off to college, and it was seriously like the best 4 years of my life. And for those that are familiar with Cedar City, Utah, know like how much of a small town it is, but just having my team, but then also just the athletic community with everyone was really, really cool. So yeah, best 4 years of my life at SCU. And I mean, people know me, and if they really know my story, I actually wanted to quit my sophomore year in college.
Really?
At that point, I was 2 years in, completely burnt out with the sport. You know, we were 6 a.m. weight training, school all day, into 5-hour practices afterwards, and traveling all over. You know, I think in the fall we had like 4 or 5 tournaments on the road for like 3-4 days at a time, and in the spring we had like 12 tournaments, you know. So it was just back to back to back to back to back, and juggling college is already hard enough, and then obviously adding athlete life to it is even harder. And very rare, like not many people even know that side of it either. So even to find a fellow athlete, they just know what it's like.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, sophomore year, wanted to be done. But same thing, my parents were like, no, like, you would be so silly. It was a full ride scholarship. School was basically paying me to be there. I literally had the whole world in my hand. And now I'm so glad that I did, because I graduated with no student debt, no loans, no nothing. And not many people can say that. You know what I mean? So now it's funny, because I feel like when I have kids of my own, I feel like I'm gonna do the same thing and like push really hard, because I'm like, me and my sister both got these scholarships, and now we don't have debt. You know,
that's great.
Yeah.
Sounds like there's 2 key moments in your golf career that probably have a lot of application for entrepreneurs, for yourself, and for our listeners. One is, you mentioned at 12 years old, you'd been pushed from 5 to 12, and then at some moment at 12 years old, you realize, hey, I like this. Mm-hmm. I'm good at this. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to dig into that a little bit. Sure. And then your sophomore year, where you're burnt out and you're ready to be done. And then I'd like to dig into that like a little deeper on really what motivated, because there's lots of people that, you know, they would tell their parents, I'm tired of it, and they would, no, keep going, and they quit anyway. But you didn't. So I'd like to dig into those 2 key moments. Sure. Where you realized you were good, and you realized you had a passion, and you were on the brink of quitting and didn't. Yeah.
I think when I ended up turning 12, in the realm of, it was really when I started to play competitive golf here in the Valley, and we got to play all the different courses. But just seeing, I mean, basically, essentially 7 years of hard work kind of already come to fruition, and I can actually compete against these girls. That moment was cool, because I mean, you're kind of born and bred into it at that point, you know, starting at 5 years old, and your dad's in your face and taunting you. And my dad's not very good, but you know, when we're 6 and 7, you know, playing against him, we're just trying to beat him at that point. And so I think just having him instill that hunger and that, like, you got this mentality into us really drove us to do something great, you know. And for me and my background, for those that don't know, and you can kind of look up, but people are always like, well, what's your ethnicity? And so I'm actually Filipino and Chinese. And so I think it's really just that Asian heritage of like, you will do this and I don't care, you know, there's no other options. I mean, we're not going to be basketball players. We're not going to be, like volleyball. Like, we're going to do things that we know we can do, ping pong and golf. You know what I mean? So I think, seriously, when I was 12 and I started playing the competitive nature of the sport, but then I'm also just social. I love friends and meeting new people. And so then I was meeting other golfers around town, and then I was like, oh, okay, well, this is pretty fun, And so I think that point was when it was actually fun. All the way up into it, I was like, it's just me and my sister and my dad. This isn't very fun, you know what I mean? So I think, basically when I started to play the tournaments and all that was when it got fun for me.
Before we go into that other story, let me just ask a application here for your business. At what point did you realize that your event planning business was fun?
I want to say when at the end of a wedding, an event, anything like that, right before the event ends, and I'll go up to the client or the bride or the mother of the bride or whoever's basically contracted us in to take care of the event, and just getting that hug from them, having them hold my hand and say, this was the best event I've ever had. Thank you so much for everything. It's in those moments where it's fun for me. And there's a lot of planning that goes behind it, obviously. And then, really just being on site. A lot of the times it obviously depends on the venue, but we'll normally be on site, say from 10 to 11-ish a.m., depending on the venue. And then, we're there till 10 or 11 p.m. But it's just seeing all of our hard work come to fruition on the day of. And it's like, oh, yeah, we talked about the marquee letters being there, and all the florals, we talked about this, and this was supposed to be there, and now it's like all together. I think it's really just seeing it is the most fun part for me. And then same thing, like it translates back to golf, is meeting all my friends and everyone in the industry now. Really, that's the fun part for me. I could sit for hours and just sit over coffee or over podcasts and just talk, and just let's get to know each other, and how's the baby, or then that's just me and what I'd like to do, and that's why I just love socializing and friends.
No, excellent.
So
excellent.
Yeah.
So that human connection, making a difference, seeing the mental creation come to fruition and the physical creation. That's where the joy comes from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Now let's fast forward to your sophomore year.
Yeah.
And really dig into why you chose to keep going.
I think it's really because our family is just so close and tight-knit. And I just really moved back on heritage because it's very generational. And if any of you kind of know Asian culture and families, they are very close and tight-knit, but it's more so on the side of not wanting to disappoint your parents or having the looming, like, oh, well, I left college and my parents were angry at me type of thing. I think it was more so on that respect, of knowing how many dollars my parents threw literally into this whole thing that, okay, well, I can't say goodbye to this right now, or this is an opportunity of a lifetime. And so it's really just realization. And I think honestly, college, really changes a human being, honestly, and makes you mature and grow and figure life out in general. And so I think it was just the realization of not being selfish, I think, and not just quitting and saying, all right, goodbye, see you later. So I think that's what it really stemmed down to, and continuing to just communicate and talk things through with my family of like, well, what do you guys think I want to do? And my golf coach knows this, but there were moments where I was just like, he's not treating me very fairly. I don't like this anymore. No one, and I wasn't playing very well either. So that wasn't helping at all, of course. And so I think, like I said, it was really the family and not letting them down type of thing, and wanting to represent the family well as the university and the team. And so then it's just everyone that's backing me is just, I didn't want to disappoint, essentially.
Have you faced a similar moment in your business where you wanted to quit? Like, okay, I'm done with this.
Last week.
Once a week, right?
Yes.
In the middle, at 12 o'clock every event day?
Yeah. There's so many moments. I mean, and like I said, in the background, there's a lot of friends that I do have in this industry, but there's also a lot of vendors that can just be grimy and, out for blood at that point.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why, but maybe, and I'm very empathetic. I try to understand both sides, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe COVID really hit them hard, and this is their policy and they're standing by it, which is fine. I get it. But then I'm in the middle, of course, but relaying that to a bride who wants their money back, wants whatever, I'm trying to reason with people, but then I get stuck in the middle of it. Sometimes it gets really, really, really hard. So yes, I mean, all the time. Or say if I just haven't been able to land a client, I have all these inquiry calls and I can't land anyone, because the planning side of it is interesting, because we kind of have our main vendors, which is going to be the venue. Of course, you want to host your wedding or event somewhere. Then you have a photographer to capture the moments. Then you have your DJ, who of course is going to run the party. Then you most of the times have your caterer and then your cake people. That's really it. Everyone else is kind of like if it allows for the budget.
Yeah.
Flowers, okay, people can go to Hobby Lobby and do that. Planning, oh, well, my aunt so-and-so can do it, you know what I mean? For us, of course, we're coming at a bill, and some people don't put that into the budget. And so, is one of those things like, okay, well, this is my rate, and I really can't come down to it. We bring so much value to the wedding, and I know what the other wedding planners are doing, so of course for me, I'm going to go above and beyond and do all these different things. But for us, really, we're surface-based, we can't, oh, well, this is, we did this, and this is what this bride said. But really, when you see someone shine is on the wedding day, especially for the planners. And so, yeah, I mean, seriously, last week, I literally think I texted my boyfriend. I was like, I just want to fold the whole business. I'm done, but that's just business and entrepreneurship. And he's an entrepreneur as well, so he totally understands. Mm-hmm. So he's like, same thing, what my parents were saying. But he was like, don't be dumb, you've worked so hard to get to the point where you are. But I feel like if I'm not transparent and I'm telling people these things, then they just think, oh, well, she's, on fire and she's doing this, and that. And I'm like, I am, but, I also...
Still hard.
Yeah. I mean, during COVID, I was literally, I think I put in 200 applications on Indeed.
Wow.
Because it was getting really, COVID was horrible. But seriously, nobody called me back on Indeed. And I was like, this is the universe saying something. It was so weird. I was like, okay, I guess I'll keep going on the business.
So applications to get a job somewhere else, you're saying?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I've told many people that story, because I was like, it got really hard. I started door dashing, delivery driver food and groceries, because I was like, I need money, and then actually our family had just opened our Airbnb. And so then I was cleaning the Airbnb, and the cleaning fees were $150 or something. So I was taking those, and I just literally had to do anything to not get an actual job, because I was like, because I knew in my heart events were going to come back, everything was going to be fine. But I was like, I can't go and get a job right now, because then I would have to quit, and I don't like to quit, if I start something, I obviously want to see it through. But,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. COVID was really hard. I couldn't find myself out of bed for like 2 to 3 weeks, like just literally laying in bed every single day. And I was like, why do I even get out of bed today? Like, I don't have any, anything. But then that's when I started actually my podcast and got to connect with people from all over and, just checking in with them. And obviously it's all over. Ours was over the phone. So that was my coping mechanism, if I want to call it that. So, yeah.
So a lot to unpack, I guess.
Yeah.
So COVID pretty much shut down all of business. Just want to touch on that real quick. So talk to us a bit more about your mindset. So obviously you were considering, I don't know if you ever made the decision that you're going to be done, but you were considering it since you put out other applications. But just tell us a bit about what was going on in your mind, like the fear of business completely shutting down versus kind of pushing through things. What was going through your head at the time?
I mean, at the time it was, seeing accounts receivable essentially. It was like, oh, okay, I'm going to get this, and this in, and then all of it just dissipated. It's like watching ice in water, and it just went away. Yeah. So seeing that, and I was just really I have to do something, I can't not make money. Granted, I'm blessed in my situation. I'm still living at home with my parents, and they're very fortunate. I'm fortunate, but they're very loving and supportive. And okay, well, you're growing the business. Go ahead and just hang out here as long as you need. I think my rent is dog food for the dogs, or I'll take care of the dogs, obviously when they're out of town. But not many have my situation. Many, obviously have rent and mortgage payments and car payments and all these different things, so they were just figure it out for now. So I was gonna try to figure it out, so like I said, 2 to 3 weeks seriously in bed, not wanting to get out of bed, not wanting to do anything. And all these brides were devastated because we were some of them a week or days away from their wedding, and then we had to push it to October, December next year. But then after the 3 weeks, I feel I don't know, a revelation, vision, something, but I just had a moment where I just woke up and I was like, okay, you need to stop feeling sorry for yourself. You need to pick yourself back up. You're fine. So then that's when I signed up for DoorDash. I sat my parents down and I was like, hey, we're opening the Airbnb, so can I have the cleaning fees? And which actually worked out better because now we know how we like it cleaned. So then started the podcast and started growing that. I think we're at 350 or something episodes now. I don't know how, but that's all I had to do, so I was just making all the podcasts and being on the phone all day, every day with all these people and scheduling it all out. And then, I ended up doing a whole bunch of photo shoots because photographers didn't have a creative space or outlet to get people in front of their cameras. And so ended up doing, I think, 20 shoots within about 8 months or so. And wow. Dylan and Lauren were a part of one of them. And so, was just seeing these opportunities. And so I was just really strategic and focusing on TikTok. And so now we have a whole bunch of followers on there. So it's just fun that in a disaster storm of a lifetime, we still found the silver lining, and really focused heavy into the marketing side of it because I knew in my heart that everything was going to be okay. We're all going to be okay. Events are going to come back, and people were saving their money. And then, people still want to have their celebrations. Obviously, this is, where we're at, and now business is booming more than ever. Phones are ringing off the hook, and that's for everyone. They're calling it the wedding boom.
Oh yeah, I'm sure everyone that held off from last year.
Oh yeah,
got double.
Yes.
Do you find yourself spending more time cleaning your pool than you spend swimming in it? Then you need to get in touch with Flamingo Pools. Flamingo Pools is your go-to swimming pool maintenance and repair company in the East Valley. Whether it's weekly maintenance, repairs, green to cleans, or one-time cleanings, Flamingo Pools is there to take care of you. Here's a few things that makes Flamingo Pools stand out from the crowd. When you first sign up for service, they'll give you a free complimentary inspection of the pool to make sure everything is running smoothly. They'll also email you a service report with a picture attached after every visit so you know when your pool has been cleaned. They also offer a mineral treatment, which will keep your chemical levels down, allowing you to have a healthier bathing experience. At Flamingo Pools, they know that your pool was made to be enjoyed, so let them handle the rest. Check them out at azflamingopools.com or give them a call at 480-422-6013. Mention this podcast and get your first month of weekly maintenance free. That's azflamingopools.com and 480-422-6013. Well, it sounds like you made a pretty big switch from, being in bed every day to really out there hustling and coming up with a couple really great ideas to, make money and get the business back rolling again. Was there anything that happened that caused that? Was there someone you talked to or a quote you heard or a podcast you listened to, or was it just something in your mind that just suddenly switched and kicked you into gear?
So actually was always listening to Gary Vee, and I know he's not everyone's cup of tea. He's a little vulgar on the words and really harsh. But I felt like I could really resonate with him because my dad was very harsh growing up. My coach was pretty harsh as well. Both males in my life. And so then I felt like, okay, I'm going to listen to Gary Vee's podcast. And I've finished all of his episodes. There's thousands. There's so much content. And so
that's what you're doing in bed all day.
Yes, literally just listening.
Podcast.
Yeah, so I honestly couldn't tell you, but definitely his podcast, I would always just listen to it. And I subconsciously just listen and work anyways to podcasts. And so I think, just him probably one day sitting and telling me over this podcast, like, what are you doing? Like, stop being stupid, because that's just what Gary Vee says. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you were very strategic in this time and doing a few things, and you started your own podcast. Talk to us about what your intention was in starting your own podcast. You mentioned it as therapeutic in ways, but what was the original intent of that?
Well, the original intent was really to check up on my friends during COVID, because obviously no one could see each other. So it's funny, the evolution of the podcast it starts. I was like, oh, well, how are you during COVID? And then now it's like, oh my gosh, I can barely even get on the podcast. We're so busy. But the original intent was, to check up on my friends, see how everyone's doing. Can I help you with anything from afar type of thing. But now with the business and, with so many episodes, the intent for the business is to be a Arizona-based, but then also destination event planning company. So now with the podcast, we've strategically gone into all the different major cities to maybe one day, obviously, hopefully need them, for an event. So, our podcast is in Orlando, we're in Miami, we're in Dallas, we're in Seattle, we're in San Francisco and San Diego and, all over New York, all over the map. I haven't got anyone international yet, just because time zones are kind of hard, but maybe here soon. But that's really where we're at now with the podcast and all the fun things like that. And so everyone's super excited. I keep them really short too. They're only 12 to 15 minutes, and you should see my calendars. Wednesdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. I'm always just on the phone.
Wow.
But same thing, just calling people, talking to them, letting them, but it's sharing the platform, of course, to, let's introduce your business, but then also obviously share my business with the listeners. You know what I mean? So, and that's, podcasts are great.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
And so you have guests from all those different cities that you mentioned. Where do you find them? How do you connect with them in the first place?
Instagram, DMs.
Just sliding in the DMs.
Literally, yeah. We, have gotten blocked on Instagram multiple times because we've sent too many DMs. But I'll literally just in hashtags. And if you're listening to this you definitely need to use hashtags. But I just will type in, say, San Francisco weddings, and then go through and then message all the people essentially that are in there. And then, okay, then San Francisco's done. Then I'll move to Seattle. Go to all those different hashtags and people posting in there. And then they'll be kind of confused because they're like, how'd you even find me?
Yeah.
Like Instagram, So now we're getting to the point where we've built the team. And so I have some of the team members now doing that side of it, just because that's a full-time job of reaching out to people, following up with people, post-producing our podcast, doing all that, I still obviously want to make sure we're doing that, but they are doing it and they're having fun with it. They're like, this is so cool. And I'm like, all right, keep going. You got it. So
cool. Well, let's talk a bit more about Miranda Madison events, a bit about your company. If someone is planning a wedding or an event, what is it that you guys do? What do you provide for your clients?
Sure. It's definitely a stress-free event, wedding, anything like that. Say if you're celebrating a birthday or an anniversary party or corporate, gatherings. We've even come into corporate offices and set up balloons and coordinated all the different vendors. Mm-hmm. So we really do it all. Actually, through COVID, we did add balloons, and that's still part of the business. So that's pretty fun. But yeah, really just if you want someone to take over the event and be that point person, just because on the wedding day, the vendors are going to want to contact somebody, and you don't want it to be the bride and you don't want it to be the mother of the bride, but normally it is, so really just letting the couple and the family relax on the day of is the biggest thing for us, at least. And so, yeah, we have 11 girls in the team now, including myself. Yeah, we have 4 lead planners.
That's awesome.
And so we are able, our most events in one day has been 3, hoping to do more, obviously. And we're able to, so that's really, we're growing and expanding and hoping, obviously, as we expand, we get to have team in different cities. Or, the good thing about our, market is that we can go anywhere that a plane will take us. We don't have product really. It's us. Yeah. So we can just hop on a plane and be there and coordinate your event and hit up the vendors because we're pros in Instagram at this point. So yeah, we, if anyone's really looking for someone to be that point person on the day of and take over all the stress, because event stress is a whole nother type of stress that people don't know about, but then people aren't familiar with it. You know, they're like, oh, well, I can do it. It's fine. But it's not like there's just a whole nother side of it that people don't understand or realize. And you don't want to be on the day of not enjoying your wedding because the DJ's late or someone forgot an extension cord or bartender ran out of ice, or just literally have someone take care of it. And that's us, so yeah.
So do you initially sit down with a client, see if it's going to be a good fit, or just get their vision, or how does it kind of, unfold and start from the beginning?
So yeah, it normally just comes through obviously inquiry, either through just our website or Wedding Wire, The Knot, or Party Slate, or the different kind of platform, or even Instagram, honestly. Yeah. I've gotten a lot of business through Instagram. But I do like to do a phone call with all of our either brides or couples when we are starting to initially get into the process. One, because I do feel that we can really connect over the phone. Initially, right when I open the conversations, like, hey, how was your day? What do you do for work? How was work? And then it's that just connection straight away, and then we just start talking. How's wedding planning been going? Oh, I'm really stressed out, and so then I kind of obviously will run them through our packages, what all we offer, all the things like that. And then by the end of it, I kind of am just asking well, is there a budget you're wanting to stay within for the planning portion of it? Because we can customize to a certain degree. Okay. But obviously, if they're like, oh, well, just tell me your rates and we'll kind of just go from there. Yeah. Then we kind of just do that. And then, I'll send over a contract and we'll kind of, most of the times, it's funny because from all the inquiries and everything that come through, maybe only not even half will get over to the phone, you know. But that shows me truly that they want to talk to us.
Yeah.
They're very interested in our services. And then obviously if the dollar amount is what's the determinant, then we have some leeway to kind of obviously like adjust that. So that's, yeah, kind of the process. And then from there, it just depends on your package, you know, like full planning will start 6 months plus, you know. So I had one couple, we've been working for 18 months together, or
wow.
I have one, you know, who we only have 5 months to plan a wedding, you know. And so, but majority of our business is just a day of coordination currently.
Gotcha.
So that starts about 1 month beforehand. We'll take over the reins. We'll make sure all the vendors are familiar with who we are and know us, and we pull everyone together, pull a timeline together, and get everyone rocking and rolling. So.
And do you do other events besides weddings?
Mm-hmm.
What are some common other events that you guys take
so
over?
We've done a lot of 40th and 50th birthday parties lately. I feel like those are definitely milestones that people are like, let's party. So they'll, you know, spend some good dollars behind those. A lot of corporate has been calling us lately to treat their employees or even say client appreciation, anything like that. So those are a lot of the other events we can do. But that's why we truly still call ourselves an events company, because we're not just weddings, you know, and we like to do it all. And I actually do like to do a 40th or graduation party or anything like that, because it mixes up our, you know, our portfolio a little bit, but then also my brain, you know.
Yeah.
I'm so used to, okay, first look and then first dance and then grand entrance, you know, all the different things all in a row. But yeah, doing something different for anyone is nice.
For sure. Let's talk a little bit about the vendors. So, well, first, do you have a list of like preferred vendors, or are you constantly reaching out to new vendors and trying to make new connections?
I definitely do have my favorites for multiple reasons. One, they're going to show up. They're going to be there. They're going to be professional. If they even mention my name, that a referral's coming from me, then they're going to immediately take care of them like family at that point.
Yeah.
But two is a lot of the times planners move with discounts with these vendors. And that's actually something that not a lot of clients know. They just are like, oh, well, you know, having a planner is just, they're just kind of spearheading everything and kind of the middleman. But a lot of the planners do move with vendor discounts. And so whether it's 15, 20, 10, it just depends, but just ask. But I'm always open to meeting new people. I definitely do have stipulations with referring, though, just because I need to see that vendor in action.
Yeah.
Whether it be a shoot, whether it be birthday party, a corporate party, whatever it is. But it just, I have to see you in action and see if you're actually willing and able and you take it serious. And I don't care if it's a shoot. I don't care if it's my birthday party. I don't care what it is, you know, but are you going to take care of us? Are you professional? How do you dress? How do you act? Because any vendor recommendations coming from me or the team is a reflection of us, you know, as with anything, you know. So we just have to make sure, like, these are good recommendations and we trust these people and we know they'll take care of them. Because honestly, like I said, the vendors are so overbooked right now. A lot of the times they won't even answer the phone just for Joe Schmo, you know. But if I text 10 people, hey, I need this tomorrow. All right, done, you know. So it definitely pays to know someone in the industry, you know.
For
and
sure.
that's, I mean, for you guys just in general too, you know, if you guys have anything ever where you're like, hey, what about this person? What about that person? You know, and I always tell my friends, I'm like, tell them I sent you. Because then, yeah, I'm sure.
That endorsement goes a long way.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So how do you make those original connections, and how do you, like you mentioned that you need to make sure that they're, you know, up to par and up to your standards. So how do you do that, you know, especially starting off before you've had experience with any of these people, and making sure that the vendors are going to, you know, deliver on their promises and give your clients a good experience?
It's really just putting yourself in the position of, whether it be a shoot, whether it be, you know, a personal party, anything like that, or, you know, if it's moving through another vendor maybe that may refer or recommend, you just really, I mean, you have to put the dollars and the time and all that behind it. Like I said, we did 20 shoots last year. I met so many different vendors. I saw how they all operate. I saw how they all worked. And so it's one of those things that, you know, people all the time will come to me and they'll be like, oh, well, who do you use for this? And who do you use for that? And what about this? What about that? And of course, you know, I'm going to give my recommendations to whoever, you know, but as a vendor in the industry, you should take the time and you should take the energy to figure that out on your own, I feel like. Because, just because, you know, people might talk a good game, but it's like, do they show up? What's their presentation like?
Yeah.
Are they rude on the event day? Because like I said, event stress is a whole nother animal that it's seriously, I mean, it's so weird, but it like takes over your body and you almost like black out. Like, and people don't even know that stress has taken their body over at that point, and they're lashing out at people. They're super crabby. Like, there's just horror stories, but it's for real. So unless you've seen it, then people are like probably thinking I'm crazy, but it's real, I promise.
Well, I'm sure that's stressful for you too, to take on the stress of your clients and just knowing that your vendors are all, you know, not only representing your company, but representing you too. So I'm sure there's a lot that goes into
a lot, yes.
to that on wedding day.
Yes.
So you mentioned you have 11 employees now. So yeah, congrats on that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
How long have you guys been in business now?
So for 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, but they're actually all just independent contractors.
Gotcha.
So that's always another question. You know, people are like, oh, well, I'm just a one-person show, so how do I get into the independent contractor route?
Right.
There's so many. I mean, you Google it, literally, you know, or if anyone wants to sit down with me and like we can figure it out together, I'll give you my pointers. I'm happy to. So yes, 11 girls. They all have full-time positions, and I'm very transparent with them from the get-go. If anyone ever wants to become a part of the team, I tell them, this is not going to be a 9-to-5 job. I'm not paying salary. I'm probably only going to call you maybe once or twice or 3 times a season. And I need you to be okay with that, you know. But we like to keep the team bigger just because there might be a triple header weekend.
Right.
There might be a double header. There might be one time where one of the girls gets sick and we just need her to go and fill in. And so, I mean, we've really built the team to a solid position. 2 of the girls have been with me since we've started. So they're going to be 2 of our lead planners, you know, for obvious reasons. At that point, they've been in the gutters with me and seen, you know, where we've started and how we've grown and how we operate as, you know, the planning team. And so being a boss is a whole nother, you know, sector that people don't really, life doesn't really prepare you for it, but you figure it out, you know. And so captain of my golf team, I think, was the closest, you know, that I was to that, which obviously that was a lot different. But for me, it's really still moving with empathy and understanding with the girls and telling them I'm here, and if you want to go off and start your own event planning company, that's fine. If you want to, you know, take yourself out of the industry, that's fine. But just know I'm here for you. And I try to compensate, obviously, like what I think is fair for them, what's going to make it worth their time. And then I like to put them obviously in powers of position and be a lead planner and be a planner, figure it out, you know. And I tell them, like, don't call me. I'm not going to answer, you know, but I always tell the girls, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to let you drown a little bit, but I'll be there eventually to throw the lifesaver ring or, you know, whatever the thing is called. And I'll be there, you know, but you guys need to learn to sink and swim and do all that for a little bit, because that's just what this industry is about. It's just figuring it out. Life.
Sounds similar to your golf experience with your coaches, you know, sink or swim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's tough love from your coaches and your dad.
Well, I'm not for everyone, you know, and there's been girls that have come and gone, and that's okay. I mean, I still am empathetic towards them, and I'm still here for them no matter what, but I just have a standard, and I was obviously raised a certain way, you know, but this is our, and I talk very in terms of we and our, and it's just back to the team portion of it, you know, now at this point. It was back in maybe in January or so when I was talking to my boyfriend about something, and I was talking, assistants and this and that, and he told me, because he played college basketball at SU actually, but he told me, well, you shouldn't use the term assistant because that's kind of degrading, you know. And so now I use team and team member and lead planner and all these different, it's the terminology, and it's psychology too, you know what I mean? So really just empowering them to, you got this, you know, just do it type of thing. I mean, back to Nike and slogans. And I'm pretty sure they're going to, like, one of these days send me a letter and stop using
but they enjoy it.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I think empowering is a good word to use, because a lot of people are worried about their people doing a good job, and so they tend to like hover over them and micromanage and make sure they do everything perfectly. But like you said, you know, you let them go out there and sink and learn how to swim on their own, and you don't always answer their calls, and you expect them to figure it out. And you could, at first, you might think of that, like, well, that's not a very good way to lead or manage people, but it really is kind of empowering them to learn things on their own, and probably eventually in the long run figure out things better than if they would have just relied on you to figure it out for them.
Yeah, well, and we've built our relationships and our, you know, vendor relationships essentially so strong to this point that I've had these conversations with the venue owners or anyone else that you think about it, any business, the owner's not always going to be there. Yeah. McDonald's owner isn't running all of his McDonald's, you know, so.
Grilling sandwiches.
Yeah, like, that's not a thing. And so we're very transparent, and we're like, all right, well, this is going to be your lead planner. But most of the time at all the different events, I'm introducing the girls to the other vendors so they can then form their own relationships, you know. So then it's not like, oh, well, I've never met Shannon before, I don't know who Maddie is, you know. But a lot of these vendors very well know them, and they've built their own relationships. And I mean, Monday, if you guys end up coming, I'm having my birthday party, you know, and it's going to be a party and a half, of course, because I feel like as a planner, I would fail. But I mean, there's like 80 people that are coming, you know, but a lot of those people are just friends in the industry, you know, and so I'm constantly hosting events like this so people can continue, you know, to build their relationships. And because it's so hard, you know, on job sites and at a wedding, you don't have time to sit and chat and how's things going, you know. So it's just, it'll be fun to continue. So then people are aware, like, oh, okay, well, Shannon's going to be on your wedding. Oh my gosh, I love Shannon, you know. So it's been fun to now be the owner and the boss, but then still be with the girls, showing them like, okay, I'm gonna move chairs with you, and I'm not just gonna sit inside in the AC. And I think when I was working a little bit, I was frustrated with that portion of it, like, oh, well, why isn't the boss helping us, or why is he or she just inside doing whatever? That's annoying, right? You know, so I'm gonna be right there I'm gonna roll my hair up, I'll be full makeup, and you know, I'll still be like right there with you guys, because I think that also shows, I mean, as an owner and as a boss, that you are there with them, and we're all suffering through this, and we're gonna figure it out together. You know, it's a team. We're a team.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned you graduated from SUU. Did you get your degree in marketing?
I did.
So share with us like one really important principle that you learned from your degree that you've had great application in your business, and maybe one thing that you wish that they would have taught you that they didn't, that you've learned since, that you've just kind of learned on the job.
I think actually learning in class is it was really cool in the business school, because they would have you in a finance course, they would have you in an accounting course, and then management, marketing courses, all the different economics, all the different sectors of business. So that was cool to understand. Not saying I got an A in my finance course other than my marketing. But it was one of those things that it was cool to learn all those different things on the fundamental side and, in the books type of thing. But what they really didn't teach you in business school was actually doing it. Actually sitting on a computer for hours trying to figure out like Instagram algorithms and Facebook ads and all these. It was just all simulated and talking about it and homework assignments, but that I'm obviously able to do now. And I think you guys know me at this point where I don't care if someone thinks I'm a weirdo if I just want to go and learn what it's like to clean a pool, or let me just come shadow you for a day. You know what I mean? Like, but I really want to learn like the processes and why you do this and what about that. And well, what is this for? Why do you go clean at like 6 a.m.? And you're like, because it's really hot, And so just different things and processes and CRMs and all the different things like that they just, didn't teach you it, but I really enjoy that side of it. And it's funny because I love the back end of a conference, of concerts, like behind the curtain type of thing. It's really, really cool to see. The opportunities that I've even gotten now since I've been out of college have been really cool to see. Behind a big old corporate conference, there's actually 50, 60 people that are operating that you don't know about. One that's doing the teleprompter, one that's running the video, one that's running the lights, one that's running the music, one that's, running the whole show and sending the guests up, that's taking the, furniture off the stage. But I love seeing that, there's nothing, but I honestly would probably want to go see the behind the scenes of a conference or concert versus the actual event.
We're in the right business.
Right.
You're in the right business.
What are your thoughts now on college as an entrepreneur who you're in the industry you're in because of college, but a lot of people are against college. So I'm just curious kind of what your take and what your opinion and advice is to people on college.
I'm probably going to get some heat for this, but I don't care, honestly. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Don't go into thousands of dollars of debt to please your parents. Because at the end of the day, your parents are probably still going to love you and they'll get over it. Yeah. It's fine. And nor do they probably want to go into that debt either, because they're probably going to end up having to work extra shifts and help you cover books and all the expenses, obviously, that come with college. So if it's not for you, don't do it. If you really feel that lawyer, doctor, accountant, all those things that obviously need school, then yes, go. But don't go just to go. And honestly, if I wouldn't have gotten my scholarship, I wouldn't have gone.
Yeah.
I hate school. I hate it. And so,
Yet you love learning.
I know. And I love my friends. It's not worth it, honestly. Yes, I use it, but then I don't at the same time.
It all worked out in the end for you.
Yeah.
You had a great time, got your degree, no student loan debt. And you're an entrepreneur. You got the best of all worlds.
Yes.
One more thing that I'd love your specific advice on for business owners and entrepreneurs that have employees. Just going back to what you said about empowering your people. Mm-hmm. How do you make sure that you have that conversation with them and make sure that you come off from a place of love and that you're doing it because you want them to grow and learn on their own and not because you don't care about them and you're not going to help them out?
Well, it really starts of an attitude check from the boss or owner or whoever's having this conversation. If you go at it in a weird or not malicious, but just mean way, or, trying to act like something or be in a certain direction, you really have to already say that relationship and kind of that connection already. But it's one of those things, just really checking yourself. Because I think a lot of business owners There's really, I mean, you guys know, there's really some things that people don't know about. You might be in a dark place. You know, the business might be on the verge of folding. Different things. The business might not be coming through. But really just, you have to have it in your heart to be a good boss, I think, if that makes sense. And really work on yourself. And so, but then it also comes on the other side, you know, of having a contractor or an employee that maybe tells you, like, hey, you're not being very nice.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes people just don't know, you know, or they'll just be like, oh, well, I'm just doing what I'm supposed to. Well, that's not how you do it, you know? So maybe just also the realization of it, you know?
Sure.
So that's a hard one. You know, you just really have to either come from a loving and empathetic background or mindset, or you maybe learn to get, or if you're not and you know you're not and you can't get there, then find someone that is, you know, like find a partner.
Yeah.
Or find, maybe, I know wives step in a lot of the times and they'll be like,
Yeah.
hey, like, so this and this, you know, can I make some cookies? But, you know, like, tell me what's going on. So I don't know. That's a hard one.
No, I love that advice. And then anything else as we're closing up that we missed, or any last piece of advice that you'd love to share with our listeners?
I think two things, and I think it was really a common denominator between a lot of things. But really, when it gets hard, don't give up, because there's something around the corner that, you know, really is probably going to rock your world and it's going to be a life changer. But you really wouldn't know that if you just call it quits and fold it up. And then secondly, I really, you know, just think people need to hustle harder. I mean, we literally got shirts printed this year for fall season. Logo obviously on the front, but then on the back it literally just says hustle harder. Because I don't think people work hard enough. You know, Instagram's great because you can put on this whole persona and you can make it seem like business is great and all these different things are going on, but people just aren't putting the sweat equity into businesses that need to nowadays. They'll try to get this subscription and do this and do that, but there's nothing that works better than literally just maybe not going door to door, but sending a 500 DMs until you get, you know, blocked on Instagram or just meeting up with people and just knowing that you have to put money into the business to start making that money. You can't just start making it like poof, you know, and that's any business, you know, but having that realization first and foremost, and you can, you know, work that as a side hustle and still have a full-time position. You know, maybe it's a 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. type of thing, you know, that you just kind of work on the business on the side.
Yeah.
But people don't want to do that. You know, it's too hard. They don't want to do it, or they're just going to fold the business because it's too hard to juggle both, or they're okay with their 9 to 5, and that's great, you know, but we're going to go get our money and keep doing all the things, you know.
Right.
So
Hustle harder. I like that. It's a good place to kind of close things up here.
Yeah.
As we close up, though, we got a quick little game that we're going to play with you.
Okay.
So how it's going to work is we have
see how much you can hustle harder.
Right.
We've got a list of 20 questions that we're going to ask you.
Okay.
And you've got a minute to answer as many of them as you can.
Okay.
So we'll see how you square up against other guests we've had on the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You start us off in 3, 2, 1.
Your dream vacation.
Bali.
First thing you'd buy if you won $1 million.
G-Wagon.
Your favorite hobby.
Sleeping.
If there was an Olympic competition for everyday activities, what activity would you have a good chance at winning a medal in?
Sleeping.
A song you've been jamming to lately.
The one by Maroon 5. I don't really know the name.
If you lived to be 100, would you rather have the mind or the body of your prime self?
Mind.
Your favorite holiday.
Christmas.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Strawberry.
Favorite fictional character.
Oh, I don't know. Let's say SpongeBob.
Favorite smell?
flowers.
What's your nickname?
Mimi.
Pet peeve.
Annoying people.
Favorite restaurant?
Oh, any pizza spot.
If you could switch places with someone for a day, who would it be?
Taylor Swift.
If you had to eat one food for the rest of your life? what would it
Pizza.
Oh, there's our timer.
Okay. How did I do?
You did actually really good. That
Really
was
good.
16. That's actually one away from the record.
Oh.
If you got it, we would have had to throw a party, and how do you plan it for us? Love
That
it.
was fun. Oh, I made my heart race.
Not bad, not bad. Tell our listeners where they can hear a bit more about you if they've got a wedding or an event coming up and
Yeah.
want to get in touch with you guys.
Sure. I mean, well, Instagram's obviously huge nowadays, and a lot of people love to see our work. So definitely head over to Instagram, Miranda Madison Events. TikTok, I mean, is obviously where you're going to see our videos and everything like that. So that's also Miranda Madison Events. We just actually started a YouTube series on, obviously, YouTube, but basically showing the behind the scenes of the event. So that's been really fun. But yeah, I mean, our website, Miranda Madison Events, everything's Miranda Madison Events. So just anywhere that people are, definitely head over there and give us some love, and we'll give some love back.
Nice. And then I know you have a little special offer for our listeners. You want to tell them about that real quick?
Yeah, so anybody that listens to this, mentions that they heard this podcast, we are offering 10% off of any of our planning packages, and then also our balloon packages. So definitely give us a call and take advantage of that, because we really, very rarely, unless certain exceptions, will give discounts. So yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay, well, thank you again so much for coming on and sharing all your advice with us. We loved it.
Yeah, well, thank you
Great
guys for
having you.
having me.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Okay, we'll catch y'all next week. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. Just a few things before we go. First off, if you or someone you know is an entrepreneur in the East Valley, we'd love to have you on the show. Please get in touch with us by emailing us at localhustlerspodcast@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram at localhustlerspodcast. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn for the latest news and updates. Also, if you enjoyed the show, please take a few seconds to rate and review and hit that subscribe button. It lets us know how we're doing, it helps us grow so we can reach more locals, entrepreneurs, and help small businesses grow. Thanks, guys.